What's up, guys? So today it's going to be purely educational purposes video. I'm going to adjust the clutch on this. I'm not going to go through all the motions of changing the oil and everything because I realized that there's no gasket in here. So I'm going to have to get one ordered and installed, and I'll go through that whenever it comes in. But for now, we're just going to go through the motions of adjusting the clutch, and then if I've got time, I'll throw the throttle cables back in the carb on the other side of the bike. Yeah, let's get into it. So for my tools, I've got a very skinny flathead screwdriver. I've got 2 wrenches, just in case. You might only need one, but we'll see. So the first thing I did was I used the small flathead screwdriver to remove the zip tie. You can cut it if you like, as long as you got a replacement to put on there when you're done. It doesn't matter. But next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this boot up and over. So I did need 2 wrenches just to break this loose. So I'm just going to loosen that up. And I'm going to put some slack into the cable. Let's see where we're at. Oh yeah, loosey-goosey. So now we're going to take our cover off here, and you can see where I've leaked some oil out of here. So for taking this cover off, I just use a Home Depot paint stick. Some people put like a flathead screwdriver in there and bang it with a hammer, but that's how you get damage like this whenever it slips loose. This is soft enough where it's not going to damage the metal, and it's thick enough where it fits right in there like a big old screwdriver. Alright, now that we got this loose, be careful, there's a spring in here. I'm just going to pull that out, set everything down. Like I said, I like to keep things kind of in order. Like these two go butt to butt. Stick it down in there. So this is your clutch adjustment. So I don't know how far this has been changed, but we're gonna see if we can figure this out real quick. Alright, to adjust this, I'm gonna back it out a little bit, and then I'm gonna tighten it. This is reverse threaded, so lefty tighty, righty loosey. And then once you feel it start to engage a little bit. Yep, I'll get a little bit of resistance, and I'm going to do a quarter turn back. Right there. That's my adjustment. I'll just do it one more time for posterity. Turn until we feel a little bit of resistance. Quarter turn back. Bada big boom. So now I'm going to put all my pieces back together. You see, this is the lock nut for this. These go butt to butt, flat to flat. So you see it's got little cutouts in it that fit right on that screw. We're going to line those up. Get it right in there. It's going to be a little bit. There we go. And it undid just a little bit of our adjustment when it fit into the recessed part there, but that's fine. We'll make it up in the cable. Next is our little spring right there, and then we can put our cover back on. Now I'm going to use my paint stick, crank this back down, but not so hard that somebody's got to beat it out with a screwdriver and a hammer. So now we're going to need to adjust our cable. As you see, we've still got loosey-goosey. So we set our main adjustment here, and then we're going to do fine adjustments from this. So to set this, we're just going to loosen this up until we get little to no play. I'm going to get it to where there's no play, and then I'm just going to back it off just a little bit. So that's pretty tight. Let's go a little bit more. Oh yeah, and then I'm just going to back it off just a bit. Maybe give it a little bit more mustard. A little bit more. And just get it to where you like it, your personal preference. Just a scotch. And then we've got too much. So yeah, set it to your personal preference, and then you're going to tighten down this lock nut. Once that's tight, you're going to slip this boot down right back where it came from. Or so help me. And then we're going to zip tie this back on. And I find it helpful to actually get up on the bike, sit down and pull your clutch back, see how you're doing. If it's somewhere you like it, you got enough slack in it, if it's got the right amount of pull, you're good to go. But you might find that what you adjusted when you're, upside down, holding it backwards, isn't quite what feels best when you're actually riding the bike. So test it out, see how it feels, and then if you're good, move forward. If not, go ahead and make your adjustments and get it to where you like it. Alright, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to install my throttle cables back into my carburetor. And they're going to fit through these two routing holes and into the throttle plate down below. So, first thing I'm going to need to do is remove my air cleaner, which I also want to note that when I put the exhaust on, it is dangerously close to this. So, I'm probably going to adjust these and see if I can shift them down a bit. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, for now I'm going to work on this and then call it a day. So we got the bolts off, we're pulling off our air filter, and then we're left with the air cover plate, air cleaner plate, and then we've got 3 Allen wrench bolts we need to remove to get this off the carburetor. There's also 2 mounting brackets. I'm going to leave the brackets on, and I'm just going to pull these bolts off to get the plate itself off. I might regret that, but we will see. For these Allen head bolts, I like to make a drill bit out of an old Allen key. Like, I just have a spare set that I use just for making these. I'll leave it stock until I need that size, and then basically all I'll do is cut the end off of it and then just shove it right in the drill chuck. And it becomes a nice little bit. It's cheaper than buying a set of bits. Just make them when you need them. And I do always have 2 sets of Allen wrenches around just for that situation. So, handy little tip. So instead of pulling these 2 off, I did just pull this bracket off, and I was going to slide this out of the way. But I realized that this is an interesting little setup. Somebody used a bolt, or a nut that's a little bit too big, as a spacer to keep the plate off of the carburetor a little bit and give it some space. Interesting setup. Creative. But yeah, I'm going to slide this out of the way and get to work. So I did end up removing the other bolt on this side just to get that plate completely out of the way. And yeah, I pulled the carb off. Just pops right out. And I went ahead and ran my cables through. So this back slot is for your return cable. It's the little guy with the spring on it. And the front is for your actual throttle cable, the one without a spring. And on the throttle plate, you'll see here, there's 2 little holes. That's where those are going to feed into. So this actually goes up in there. You've got a little slit here down the side. You just run your cable through and then get that connector put in place. Alright, now that that's run through, I'm just going to slide this right into that little hole and pull it tight. Alright, and then let's do the front side. Sometimes these can be a little tricky with the slack because these are working off of the same thing on the handlebar end. It just wraps around and like it's locked into here, so whenever you pull one, it pulls the other like that, back and forth. But let's see if we can get this out here without having to undo that. So after some finagling, I did get them both in there. I did undo the return cable so that I could get the throttle cable on first, just so I wasn't fighting with the plate the whole time. Because in its natural state, it's like this, so it's closer to this side. So I put that one on first, and then this one was a little bit of a struggle. I just popped this little flathead in between here when it was up and over, and I popped it around till I got to this point here and slid into place. So now that this is in place, I'm going to go ahead and put this back onto the intake. And the intake is this little metal opening here. I don't have a replacement boot, so I'm just going to put this one back on for now, and this just slides right over that opening. So this just pressure fits into there, and then when we put the air cleaner plate back on, it's going to hold it in place. But I've got my vacuum line still installed. I never took it off, which it looks like I might need to replace this, so that's a little cracked. We'll figure that out later. I've got my gas line installed. Obviously there's no gas tank, so it's just loosey-goosey on the other side, but it's installed. And now I've got my throttle cable installed as well. Cool beans. So next I'm going to put my plate back on and then put my air cleaner back on. And there is a gasket on here. Whenever I go through and do all this for the final build, I'm going to replace this, but for now I'm just going to leave it on there. Also, I did already rebuild this carb, so that's not going to be something I'm going to film as part of this. If you guys want to see that, or you want me to discuss it or go over it in any aspect, just let me know and I'll work something out. My buddy's got the other exhaust that he wants to put on his bike, so we'll probably have to rejet. So that might be a good opportunity for that. I'll see if he wants to be involved for that, but just let me know if it's something you want to see and we'll work it out. Alright, so I got all my bolts back in. Everybody's mounted where they need to go. Now we're going to put the air cleaner back on. You'll notice it's 3 holes in a very specific pattern. These two are closer together than that guy over there. These two are closer together than this guy over here. So that fits right over that, just like so. And yeah, we'll deal with that later. So I was able to get the pipes moved down just a hair. There's not much free space in here, so there's not much I can do in terms of moving it any more than that. But the guy I got it from, it wasn't writing when he had it, so I'm not sure who. If maybe the owner before him did this, but that's too close for comfort for me. Maybe that's why they wrapped the pipes when they installed them. But luckily I'm just going to replace this with a different air cleaner, something a little bit more concise, like an oval type shape. But yeah, so we got our throttle and return cable installed. We got our clutch adjusted. We got our air cleaner back on. We shifted this down. I feel like that's a good stopping point for the day. I did look at the wheels and tires I have. So I have new tires that need to go on the wheels, but the wheels currently have tires on them, they're a little bit better off than these guys are. So I might just throw those on as is and use those for riding tests, and then we'll do tire changes later on, and I'll make a video on that. It's got tubes and all the whole setup. So one thing about the rear wheel, I will have to do a chain drive conversion because it is primary, or it's a belt drive currently, so I'll have to slap this flywheel on there. Yeah, and I'll need to replace that rotor as well, which it has a rotor on it. I'm not sure what the condition of it is. I'll have to look at it, but we'll see. So I'm out of time, but I just want to give a quick rundown of front to back what we're looking at for this project. So obviously, I've mentioned several times wheels and tires on the front end and the back end. I'm going to redo the forks. I've got some progressive fork springs to go in here, and then we'll rebuild these. The entire front end is loosey-goosey right now, like nothing's bolted down. So we're gonna have to tighten everything up, which we'll do when we rebuild. So I've got this rat's nest of wires. Some of this stuff is just chopped off, some of it's disconnected. There's non-stock connectors in here. Like, I know the ignition was replaced, not sure what else has been done. I know they ripped the speedo and the tachometer off. They kept the oil and the neutral lights, which I like. They're just zip tied up here. But I might try to keep these if possible, or install new ones. There's a few loosey-goosey wires in here, which go to extraneous things that have been removed. We've already done a lot to this. We put these mid controls on just the left side so far, just so I had something to shift. I still need to do the right side. That'll come later. I'll probably undo this whenever I take the primary cover off, and then I'll make a video of how to put these on if you go this route and pick up these. These are from Lowbrow Customs. Probably gonna relocate the ignition coil, probably up here, just to make it a little bit cleaner up in this area. Obviously we're gonna clean everything, just give the whole bike a once over, because it is pretty gross, especially up down in here. Looks like we might have had an oil leak at some point, which we're gonna look into and figure that out as well. We are gonna swap out the frame. This one's a little rusty. It's not terrible, but the other one is a lot worse, so we're gonna sandblast that, which I'm gonna make a video for that as well. It's gonna be a new thing for me, so we're gonna figure it out together. And like I said, rear wheel, and then I'll show you the rotor down here, where it's a big old crack in it, which I've got a replacement, but there's also one on the wheel that I'm replacing this wheel with, so I might not need it. We'll see. I might just throw the new one on just because I have it and sell the other one for parts. And then the rat's nest of breakers I need to find a home for, or build a home for, because right now they're just floating in the wind. But yeah, that's the long and short of it. So stick around, we're gonna keep working on this. If you've got any questions, you got any suggestions, you got anything you want to see me work on next, throw a comment down below, throw a like on the video, give me a subscribe if you're feeling saucy. Yeah, follow along and we'll keep working on this. See you next time.